a man of destiny. So the prophecy came to pass, and the words of the tohunga were fulfilled. Ngāpi Ngata came into the world of light in July 1874. His mother was Katarina, his father was Paratene Ngata. storekeeper, a contractor, and an assessor for the native land court. The family, they stayed with me, Rawiri Waha Waha. And it was here that Yamapira Rangata's tribal identity was molded.
You must always think of yourself as Ngāti Guru.
Katarina, Karatene, Leita Puri here. This is my wish. I want Yagapi here to go to school at Waimatatini for his education. To go to school there, the school that I have founded there. And afterwards, to go to the Anglican Church's boarding college at Te. My friend John Thornton is the headmaster there, and he shall take charge of his education. Kumarama. Kia kaha. Meantime, in Taranaki, on the other side of the island, another childless marriage was taking place, awaiting its own destiny, and the birth of Peter Buck. Died. The child was Te Rangihiroa, otherwise known as Peter Buck. His upbringing was a mixture of Māori and Pākehā, and he followed Apira Nangata to Te Aute.
This year of our Lord, 1890, may I, John Thornton, as Principal of Te Aute, on behalf of the school board, congratulate Mr. Ngata for having matriculated with such high marks. Mr. Ngata, I understand that the Council of Elders has agreed to your attendance at Canterbury University. The time will come when the maraes will wish to have your own doctors, your own lawyers, and your own clergymen. You are chosen to do great things. The uplifting of the people is in your hands.
And so, with the passing of time, Apirana Ngata was gowned and granted his BA, his MA and LLB, and finally admitted as a barrister in 1897.
He became my hero. He started at Te Poho in 1883. I didn't get there until 1896 when I was 18. In my final year I was dux and ready to go to Otago Medical School. Api, he was the first person with Māori blood ever to take a university degree, and thereby proved that the higher peaks of Pākehā education could be scaled by a Māori. I determined to do my best to qualify for pursuing the trail which he had blazed.
The two young men met in February 1987 when Ngata returned to Te Aute College to attend the first meeting of the Te Aute College Students Association. He was a star attraction. Buck was still a student.
It is my sincere wish that you and Tūtere will pass your matriculation. It should then not be too difficult to make satisfactory arrangements with the Minister of Education to see you through a 5-year course at Dunedin. Our circle will then be fairly complete. Hector Kohere and Bennett Parsons, Hay and myself lawyers, you and Tūtere doctors. Now, these are the men on whom a tremendous responsibility has devolved by virtue of their position and education. We, the parsons and the lawyers, will do all the talking and some practical work. We will clear the land, drive the road, bridge the ford for you that come after. It is ours to remove prejudice, to argue out of existence fallacious doctrines, to lay the foundations for a healthier, more compact, more powerful social opinion among our people, so that your future work may be easy. I only wish you had your MB or MD now, so you could come with me to begin the field work of the association, to devote ourselves body and soul to it. I can't sleep for thinking and dreaming of it. I hope you are acquiring some knowledge of our Maori people. Don't pick holes in them. We've done that time and again. But seek rather for the good qualities that may be perpetuated for the good of the race. We are the beginning of a new hope for our people. In this year of 1899, I give up my legal practice to become your secretary. My destiny is focused on the desire to serve, to work, to modernize Maori society. Let this be the beginning of the young Maori party. A united Maori people, united the maintenance of the best of our race, and for its protection against well-meaning but cruel civilizations. Ko te iwi Māori e Nguru nei! Au! Au! Ko te iwi Māori e Nguru nei! Au! Au!
4 years earlier, in 1895, Apirana Ngata had married Arihia Tāmati of Whareponga. They were betrothed after the death of Arihia's eldest sister, Terina. After the tangi, Arihia, who was working at Tuapotiti Hotel, was taken to Apirana. Ngāti Pro affiliation. By contrast, Buck's marriage in 1905, 10 years later, increased the Pākehā orientation in his life. Born in Northern Ireland, Margaret Wilson had come out to New Zealand with her widowed mother.
Take this man, Peter Buck, to be your lawful wedded husband, to help you God.
I do. I take him in sickness and in health, till death do us
Margaret never learned Maori or became familiar with Tana Maori, but she shared Peter Buck's affection for Apira Nangata and fiercely loved and worked with her husband. Meantime, the land wars had not long been at an end, and Maori land had been taken, leaving only pieces like a broken biscuit. The government's land policy had thrown Maoridom into ferment.
The Kōtaitanga movement has tried already to stop the government, but we're of course for self-government, for the control of ourselves and lease of our land, and for the setting up of a separate Māori parliament governing us.
I, and the King movement too, have tried to become an independent state, but more Māori are losing their land and becoming more and more lands.
We must do what we can. This year of our Lord 1900, on the brink of a new century, our young Maori party, and I myself, will help to ensure that the Maori Lands Administration Act is passed.
I always loved my husband, and then came our whānau, 5 boys and 6 girls in all. We settled out at Waimatatini in the house which he had built. It was called the bungalow. And he was always busy. His political career was starting to flourish. He had so much energy it just radiated out of him.
We've done it! Further purchase of land not in Maori interest is to be stopped. When Maori show a capacity for land administration, we are to be encouraged and assisted by the state.
The people will be proud of you, as am I.
Not only that, the process of determining titles to Maori lands is to be made as simple and inexpensive as possible.
It didn't last long, of course, for the government was steadily reversing its Māori land policies. But Api had shown his mettle to the people.
Now,
Kia ora. It is 1905, Api. At the end of the year is the general election. And we want you to be our candidate for Ngāti Wharo.
yes, it is God's will. Let it be done.
What a man! From 1905 for 38 years he held that seat, coming in that time the father of the house.
As a member for the Eastern Maori District, this year of 1907, I would like to address the House on the Native Land Settlement Bill, and especially as to the Maori ideal of how his land should be settled and what should be done with them. I must confess, the Maori ideal is opposed to the whole of the legislation from 1900 down to the present time. I'm speaking for the moment simply as a Maori with an eye to no other object than the benefit of the marae.
My husband was an extremely attractive young man, with neatly short groomed hair. Whenever he rose to speak, the house and the galleries filled to hear him.
Marae ideal is that he should be left alone. Not only should he be left alone, he wants unrestricted freedom of dealing. Now, as to this innovation of individualization, this was not the ideal of the marae. This was a Pākehā innovation, and it came in 1865 when the Pākehā said, let us apply to the marae the same principle. We should legislate for the marae first, and for the lands that he may desire to retain for his use and occupation. We should give him a proper title, ample powers, financial assistance under proper safeguards, and expert instruction in farming pursuits. Do not let our policy be simply that of providing under pressure and in response to the clamour of the land-hungry native land for European settlement, while remaining criminally silent as to the balance undealt with from time to time. Very little is being done for the marae. We are in the position of the poor man who must be content to receive the crumbs from the master's table.
Can you see why he was so admired? He was a politician. Power excellence. As for me, well, our paths were beginning to diverge. In 1905, I was appointed as medical officer to the Maui, serving as deputy to Maui Poma, who had just returned from the Seventh-day Adventist College, Michigan, from the United States. We were working to improve Maori health, housing and sanitation. At the same time, however, I was also turning to ethnographic study. I wanted to delve into the origins of the Maori, where we came from, and aspects of our culture. Yes, I joined up here at Maui in Parliament for a time, but my interests were mainly scholarly. I worked on physical anthropology and material culture, up here on songs and poetry, and Maui, on myths and legends.
For Ngata, the commitment that came first was political. He became a dedicated politician who saw in Parliament the means of giving legal and practical effect to the reforms he so passionately wanted for his people. And as it had been all his life, his career was always based on tribal support, gradually taking over the effective leadership of the Ngāti Porou.
The only problem was that his parliamentary duties took him from home for longer and longer periods. I missed him, the children missed him, and he missed his elder son, Mākari.
Now, the paramount consideration is the encouragement and training of Maoris to become industrious settlers. The statute book may be searched in vain for any scheme deliberately aimed in this direction. The legislature has always stopped short when it has come to outlining a scheme or method of acquiring Maori lands. The necessity of assisting Maoris to settle their own lands must be properly recognized. We are a people starving in the midst of plenty.
Of course I support Hapi. The Pākehā do not like the Māori to be landlord, because the Māori has a darker skin tint than he does. The Pākehā considers the Māori merely as an appendage, and a useless sort of appendage, like the vermiform appendix.
It was becoming more apparent that Peter was more interested in anthropology. It was very embarrassing in a very small chamber to have your benchmate measuring you from your knee to your ankle and saying, you Aryans are longer in the tibia than other Polynesians, and so on. My sharp retort, I wish to listen, for I'm no more than a stupid Maori giggle of his.
So So it was that Peter Buck began to feel the pull. So it was that Peter Buck began to feel the pull of Polynesia, visiting the Cook Islands during the parliamentary recess in 1910 and visiting Niue Island during the recess in 1912 and 1913. He chose to contest the European seat in 1914 and was narrowly defeated. Meantime, Apirana remained bound by his New Zealand commitment. Then came World War I. Maori soldiers are now returning to Aotearoa from the war. They are greeted on arrival by Ngata. The last to be greeted is Peter Buck. Political life continued. Among many Maori, one that influenced all of us was Ngata's strong support for the establishment of Te Mihinare Pihopatanga in 1928. Ngāti Porou developed a strong and loyal support for the Anglican or Mihinare.
occurred, he fought hard to obtain government aid for Māori land development and social welfare. Yes, and although he was away from the children and I, we soon reaped our rewards in 1927 and 1928.
Read here. I am to be knighted. I have been appointed native minister. I shall commence a program of massive expenditure on Maori land development. And Te Poho shall be the model for development.
He had lost none of his magic. He won the support of Māori politicians, to consolidation, and to the setting up of the Māori Renaissance. He managed even to entice Te Poho, when in 1927 he got Te Poho generously to support the Māori Concert Party, which is raising funds for the marae complex. In return, Te Poho named the first house after Mahina, whose whakapapa left the east coast with the Waikato tribes. Happy returned the compliment by attending the large week to open Mahina in 1929. Lady Adia performed in the opening for Mahina.
Eldest son to the Lord, as well as my eye here. How will I live without them? A letter I wrote to Peter. Wellington, May the 21st, 1929. Dear friend, greetings to you and Margaret, who weep there on the other side of the ocean for our tragic losses. One thing I can say is I feel as though my spirit has been crushed and my heart ripped out by these tragedies. Actually, I had no reason to be concerned on my return from the meeting at Rawiri, not knowing that Ma had caught the disease. As the malady worsened during the week of Easter, the news did not reach me quickly. When I arrived home, I could see that our son was gravely ill. The doctor, the nurses, and we ourselves did of our utmost to save him, but to no avail. It was a pitifully sad occasion, and try as he could to cling on to man's world and to life, he finally succumbed to the malady. It was Arihia who tended our son. She was not careful enough of the soilings of the dysentery and caught the germs of the disease from him. The correct medicine and anti-dysenteric serum was not at hand and was not available for Ma either. Arihia had the disease for 5 nights before the serum arrived, but already it was too late. That was the day I became numb and listless, though trying to present a bold front lest the children would think that I too was afflicted, and worse, that they would think that they also would catch the disease. From that time running up till the present, I have felt as though my heart has been ripped out, and that a spear has penetrated me, and the head was being twisted to gouge my innards. Ma was a person who revealed very special qualities. A humble and gentle person who had a large following among the young people. Perhaps he could have led them better than we could because of his gentleness and humility. The two of you knew his mother, during that time that you have been on that side of the ocean. She has grown in esteem in the hearts of Te Poho. Since my elevation to this position, they have depended on her to stand in for the two of us, to present what we are, what we stand for to the peoples at the back behind the scenes. So it was the mourning for them was on an exceedingly large scale. They grieved deep down in their hearts. They grieve still. Weep for me, whose sorrow is here for you both. Thoughts reach out to our friends, to the parents of our children, to the places where we traveled and holidayed together. And the memory tugs at my heart. But do not be too concerned about me. The passage of time will heal the grief. Already I am back at work. Though still heavy of heart.
People, that is the first half. I do believe that their drinks for sale outside. We'll take a 10 to 15-minute break and resume in 1920s. He took the lead in resolving the problem of local rating of Maori land. He used his influence in the settlement of a number of long-standing Māori land grievances, most notably the raupati, the confiscation of Māori land in the Taranaki, Waikato, the Bay of Plenty, and of course, Tairāwhiti.
But Tāpirana also knew that the spirit needed sustenance. Revival in tribal and racial pride, in sports, arts, traditional and performing arts. The Māori Purposes Fund Board was established in 1925. The Māori School of Arts was opened in Rotorua in 1927. In Api, he published 2 volumes of Ngā Mōtiatia in 1928 and 1929.
Then in my 54th year, Joseph Ward made me native minister, and I was ranked number 3 in the cabinet.
As for me, Margaret and I settled in Auckland. Anthropology was fast becoming my life. Then in 1923, I met Professor Herbert E. Gregory, director of the Fish Museum, Honolulu in Hawaii. Over the years we kept in touch, and then in 1928, he offered me a fellowship at the Fish Museum. I asked for his blessing, and he gave it. Margaret and I left soon after for Hawaii.
So Peter Buck and his wife Margaret departed for Hawaii, and there, on arrival, they were greeted by the Hawaii. 1930, Peter and Margaret were back in Aotearoa again. They immediately left for Tairāwhiti, Siapiranga, and to attend the official opening of this meeting house, Te Poho Rawiri.
I could see my own people. You of the Maori race, and in perspective admired in you, characteristics which make you a noble race. I have discovered that our people are preserving a number of ancient and beautiful characteristics that have sunk out of sight in other lands of the Pacific. I would urge with all my heart that you should keep them alive through the years to come. Today we are weaving a strand of great and everlasting strength. The best of our Maori people, such as Suapiranga Ngata and those working in the shadow. To draw forward the Maori people to their great destiny.
A month later, Buck returned to Hawaii, where, for the most part, his future was assured and included, and among other things, his appointment as a visiting professor to Yale University. But he and Tāpiranga remained in touch through letters, which they wrote to each other right through to 1950.
Meantime, I found the administration of the Native Department a full-time job. I was also responsible for a great deal of general cabinet business as well. Then I became acting Prime Minister. Rawiri would have loved that. Still, I managed to concentrate on expanding my development schemes to cope with rising Maori unemployment. But I was beginning to be dogged by enemies. I dismissed two Pākehā supervisors because they weren't getting on with Maori communities. For the rest of my term, I was attacked by the opposition and the media. My administrative powers and my influence in cabinet were resented. But they weren't the only ones. For instance, my own people in Ngāti Porou didn't exactly like it when I banned liquor. regulation. You know what they've done? They composed a haka against my prohibition law and me. Again in 1932 to Te Rawiri, one of our own from Gisborne. Body has reached a stage where someone has to look after it. We're all getting old. Keep it alive.
I was worried. Tapi was accused of Māori grafting with Pākehā money. A small group of Pākehā MPs introduced against him. Their public service turned hostile to his methods. Tapi frequently violated their regulations by employing Māori leaders over their heads. He also overspent recklessly, defending treasury. He became highly vulnerable to charges of maladministration, or worse. Then the National Expenditure Commission was set up to reduce government expenditure.
A letter I wrote to Peter, 17th of September 1932. Dear Peter, the National Expenditure Committee of prominent businessmen turned accountants and auditors onto us. Not only to rake over the new schemes, but every section of the Native Department. The Native Trustees, the Maori Land Boards, the Maori Purposes, and kindred institutions. In a report on the whole of the government services which we occupy a prominent place. But the development work receives only one major criticism. That too much power is invested in one man, the native minister. It's probably true. But the nature of the job and the psychology and circumstances of the people demand that for a time there should be some benevolent despotism exercised. The regime is signalized by the adoption of expedients that cut across service regulations that do not fit into the case of the Maori tribes cultivating their land in a manner best suited to their genius and under leaders of their own kin and blood. The regulations were never framed for such circumstances.
This Royal Commission of Inquiry has agreed the Native Department is a ghastly sink for money. It must be reorganised to get away from the influence of the Māoris. So every Ranganeta is exceeding his power. Many of his schemes have been pushed ahead far too rapidly. No new Māori schemes should be commenced.
Dear Peter, it is only Pākehā wind, nā toho aroha api.
Then an inspector from the audit department discovered that one of Api's appointees had been falsifying accounts. More accusations of accounting irregularities followed. The country buzzed with rumours of corruption. Api was cleared personally of the charges, but found in serious breach of administrative regulations. Legislation was passed, stripping him of most of his powers. A commission was set up to satisfy public feeling. It affected Api and his family.
I replied to Api's letter, and in it I said, Yale University, 10th of July 1934. Dear Api, the attack by the audit department and its various officials brings up to the surface a very nasty phase of Western culture. Western culture has accepted an axiom that any member of their races or race is superior by that very fact to any member of a native race, no matter how gifted that native may be in his own culture. By impressing this superiority complex on the races they are supposed to take care of, they have been able to govern with a minimum of grey matter. The native is a fine fellow, so long as he accepts an inferior position. But as soon as he competes, all sorts of rumours are circulated as to his inability to do without the guidance of the white man. He is constitutionally lazy, he has no business capacity, he is shocking in his morals, and he is dishonest with money. We had it in the war. When Herbert, to hide his own incapacity, told the generals that the men were fine soldiers, but he could not trust his officers. The generals believed him, and the Māori contingent, or rather the subsequent Pioneer Battalion, was made use of to give Pākehā officers promotion. So your civil service is angered that you have done without them in order to accomplish something. Nothing will restore them, but an attack on the whole scheme, to show that Māori cannot do without the guidance of the white man. Of course they would be delighted to discredit yourself, Ty Mitchell, and any of the Māori leaders. It is purely a selfish move to prevent the Māori from becoming too strong in competition. The New Zealand Pākehā is insular. He cannot see the significance of his attitudes in the outside world. The attack on one of the greatest native movements so far recorded will have reverberations outside the narrow sphere of New Zealand. Rightly or wrongly, New Zealand does not figure very well in outside opinion, and the administrations of the Samoans and the attempt to break the forward advance of the Māori would make New Zealand stink in the nostrils of the civilized world.
Further to earlier findings, the Royal Commission of Inquiry decided to apprehend his methods of administration are to be condemned. He has abused his position by supporting the mayor and leaders and favoring the naked parole.
Therefore, I have no option but to resign. And this I so do in October 1934.
Remained an active politician. Although he was defeated in parliamentary elections in 1943, he was still listened to with respect and admiration. During the Second World War, he played a major part in recruiting the Māori battalion and in organising the Māori war effort. In the later part of his career, he turned, like his friend Peter, who was now Sir Peter Buck, who was knighted in 1946, to the cultural field. He assisted in the revision of the Māori Bible and of the Maori Dictionary. In an address to the Polynesian Society in 1947, Apirana said,
Having done your job, you are free men and carry on your work for your people. This has been my policy all my life. I do not knuckle under to bishops or prime ministers. I am first of all myself, I am Nazi Poro.
In 1947, Tāpirana was conferred an honorary degree at Victoria University when his son Hinare was capped BA. The ceremony was a proud one for Peter and I, and also for Ngāti Pro who gathered there and forced to honour 2 generations of knuckles. The ceremony was also a proud one for the Smiler family, whose son Miniata was capped along with other sons from the district.
I published the coming of the Māori Vikings of the Sunrise.
My Hoa Aroha also had abdominal cancer. We brought him home. He lectured in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, Nelson, and Whanganui. He was also welcomed on 26 maraes, Northland, Taranaki, Taupo, Rotorua, Waikato, and the Taira Fiji. We met at the Grand Hotel in Auckland. Father with a long-lost son could not be much happier. My pride in you is something very difficult to put into words.
Then the visit was over at Whenua Pai. Harpy's plane left first and called me out onto the tarmac.
Hey, Peter, we shall never see each other again.
He was standing on the steps of the plane with a smile on his face. I waved, smiled back, and we both stood perfectly still. As we gazed across the intervening space, it was a long look, which carried the message of love and affection, which had existed between us for over 50 years of unclouded friendship. We had our last look.
Tāpi married again in 1949 to Kira Te Kira, a relative of his second wife who died in 1948, and she became a keeper for the time. Then his own health began to fail. Se Apirana Turupa Noho Paringata died at Waimatatini on the 14th of July 1950 after a brief illness. He was buried at Puputa Hillside above the Purangi meeting house within the distant shadow of Hikurangi. The high and the humble both attended his tangi.
My husband Sir Peter Buck's death followed in Honolulu on the 1st of December 1951.
A tribute to Sir Peter Buck was made by Ramai Haywood in 1938, when she was 20 years old. While we were unable to secure an original copy of that song, we were able to get Ramai, at the age of 74, to sing on tape for us the tribute to Rangihiro Buck by Ramai Haywood.
Oh,
greatest 20th century Maori leaders this country has had. And in Te Apirana Ngata, we had a man of destiny. He was the greatest Ngāti Porou, the greatest Maori, and the greatest New Zealander of his time. Tātira e polo api, a hapua ko ngaro koe, ka maumahara tonu mātou ki a koe, ki o mahi, ki o tohu tohu, e tangi ana te ngā kauaroha, ki a koe, no reira e polo, haere, haere, haere. We come now to the acknowledgements. And had it been for one person, this play would not have been possible. And so our first acknowledgement is up in the Rotoria at Ngata College when we did the premiere showing was to Witi Ihimaira. Certainly a great piece of work, and another to add to his collection of great writings. Going through the cast, as Apirana Ngata, George Hena. Certainly has been a great privilege as far as the amateur cast of Ngāti Porou as far as the amateur cast of Ngāti Porou people who live in Tamaki, Makaurau, and Auckland, who work with such a renowned and honoured actor such as George Hena. Someone whose mind is reaching out to get into the world of live stage drama and acting tonight as Sapita Buck is Te Poho. All the cast are true Brunatis. And even the next one you may not think so, it's so fair. But acting is Margaret Buck, Chris Flynn, Poheri. As Paretene Ngata, Father Apirana, Kuni Lepe. marry Apirana off. And so, under the pear tree we go again, Julia. Acting as Lady Arihia Ngata, Linda Warren. To marry Paratene Ngato, and acting as Katerina, as Mate Te Koha, granddaughter of Se Apirana Ngata. As the tohunga who opened our show, David Springer. Many of the cast had many roles to play, and one was played by Te Poho, who played the roles of Marongo Itua. Te Poho. The mother of Nikita Buck, Kina, in character. Because I didn't say your name was Cody Pewhairani.
And of course, here, before he says any more, another grandson I've been narrator Hone Green.
Responsible for the backdrops and for our maunga, Taranaki on that side and Hikurangi on this side. We're two artists working in Auckland, Zach Kaiapa and Mere Lodge. And the person responsible for directing and keeping us in order and so forth, our director producer, Becky Kupenga. On behalf of the cast, it's been our privilege, first of all, to attempt to do justice to such marvellous work written by Wititi Maia, and certainly to bring back his work amongst his people and our people. Tēnā koutou.
Rawiri. nāne wai hanga ngā mahi o te kone. Taha ki te kōka. Taha ngā te kora. Taha ki te pāpā. Euri nā wipere. Oraro mena ngā kone. Tau mai wa Taniwha. Ka tū o mātou pāpā. Hei mema, mo te peirahi. Te mema e mua atu. Te tipuna, te taha ki teita ngā mahaki. O witi, o wipere. Reira, witi, tēnā koe, tēnā koe. Te mihi nei, te rātuha oho. Tēnā koe. Torotara.
Te api, koe ni rā te pōwhakamutu mō tuki ki tīmata nei, tīmata nei ngā huatanga i wākai. Ka pōpō, whakarā pōpōtotanga ki tuki ki. Reira, te ora tātou, wharo nei, ki tai mai, ke ni mō tātou, ki roto hoki i tikuna whare. Reira, tirangi manga, e tu, te rā, e re. So tau i whiwa tarana, taranya mi tarana, e tu. No reira, e api. Tarangi hiroa. E nā kōrua, o hokia mai no o kōrua mai. I roto, i ngā roto te teila. E nā kōrua. I te wā, kā rongo mātau, e te mahi nei kāri te mata. O kakao, aika, aro me kirita. Nā kōwau, tau tamarita, e āpatu, tau mātua ki te api. E ātari, no reira, wate ki te akeo, te hea, kai no te tarangi hipo. No re kōma, tēnā pō. Tēnā pō. Tau mai e toko. Tau mai. Lala tātou i haere kia kihi. Moi a manu. Nā ko Ngāti Prau e a, tai mūtu wā. Tā moe te moe maru. I tai tātou ki aia. Te rā tangata tahunga ki ngā huatanga kotoa. E tai e iai. No reira, i tika noki tātou kia tai. Ki te mai gara sa mriki mūpuna i a tātou. No reira, koe rā, tō tātou mate, e te mahanatu. Kano hei kitea, hiri nei tū. No reira, hea hawa, e moe a tātou. I roto, i tēnei ahuatanga, ko whānau ki roto i te rohe, mai te rā moka, tēnei moka e te pāpā e heni. Nā hoki te mai a mai nei, ngā huatanga, ngā piki ngā heke, i te wā, i tō matu. Whā, kau māturu tau, te mamate ngā. Whā te kau māwhā, tau tō mure, tarangi hiro. E huri nei, e huri nei, e huri no nei, e huri no nei. Whakahokia mai me te mea, e ngā mai ko mahi ake nei, tō rā wairua, he hara te koro apo. He hara te koro apo. Nā, me mahi e te koro ora, e te mahi a hai tēnei. Hoi no, te kore, ke te mihi ke oi tēnā, ke te mihi hoki e riki, me ako, i tō papa. Hei, ki mā i kia, e ni ako. Nā rumi o kurikuri, wāna mai, e te pōkeo, i hana mai au i te pō. A wau i hana mai i reira tō, i te rāpō, a me roa o tūna ne, a kuri te au kia heni. Nā riki ni kia ako. Kia ako ki pūri, nai nā ki te kutu mai ki keita. A kia kutu, hai kutu kutu mai ki anata, kutu e te iri kutu. You know, there's an upgrade in married and become a low jacket. No, they could
Yeah.
Kone tau ko ki pro. Koro ko mutu nga pa. Te tai o mātou, tō mātou tōmana ka uri hanata. Mutu waha. E api, tama te heke o harenga ki ai. Mutu kwai. Ipe kiao, a koe ngā mini. Tata, koe nola, koe tutu mini. Ngai kara o moro, koe te uto ia, ati mea te kei. Te hara mai tui, ke mahi te maini, nā kua pai no. No re re mihi e koe kia. Iku ai kusta.
Te hei mangio. Kare no ero ngā koro kai ia. Koe no tēnā koe wili. Ka hua tia whene. Kia ora kia wisi. Mō tō tāo, e hui e mai koe wāngi o mātu tōre. Kia koe hoki hena. Koe hoki tēnā koe. Ka hoki ngā mahara, i ngā rai ata te kui kone. Nā kei kune koe. Te whakakaria ni e ngā huatanga i mā. I taka mā mātai. Nā reira tēnā. Ātu ngā te mariku. E hāpai nei, ki nei te kau. Nei kumi e tu kia rātau. Ai kau mai. E ko mātai ki te ki wairu i atata. Nā reira te tamai ki tāmati, tēnā koe. Tēnā koe te pakari te kau e tātā te kau. Oe noi tono mai koe kia mātau i te rūnanga, tēnei āhuatanga. Oe ro tāku tū e mihi e tu kia koe. Mihi e tu kia koe mo te pakari mo tēnei āhuatanga kia tū. E mihi e tu kia rātau i te mari. E mihi hoki ki ngā porore pororongi. Ko te tāo e tipu hei piro toi tōku ngā kau i te pōnei ko tēnei. E kore a Ngāti Prau e mata. No te mea koro mo tātou i ngā kororo a te kau mātuara. Te tiro tātou i waino i a tātou te mariki. E kore tātou e mata. No te mea e ki ana te kororo a etahi. E kore koe mate no te mea he purapura i rue a mai rangi ate. Kuau e kororo ana e kore tātou e mate. No te mea he purapura i rue a mai i ngā kororo e rangona e tātou i te kore. Nā rere ruaro i nei kororo no e toko. Kare e kororo e tuatu, hoi no ki ora tātou karo.
E whakapono tūmana po me te awae.
Tēnā tātou i tu tātou pō, nui whakahara. E ato na kaupapa, anei e whakanui a tātou e pai nei kuni te pō. Nā reira, ko te au ngā mihi, ki eni o tātou, e noho mai nei tāmaki makau rau, i tērā rā. Engari ka rea witi re, i tau a pō, e mihi ai rātai. Nā reira, e witi, tēnā koe. Te
nā koe te tohunga whairo I tēnei mea te whakaaro whānau mai nei whairo o tō tātou kroua. Nei whakaata mai nei te tihi o tō tātou maunga. Te rao ngā kroua te rangi hirua ki mua taranga. E ki ko hoki mai te wairua o rāua, te wainui a tātou ki tēnei. Nā reira, nau te whakaaro, anei ngā ringaringa te hine ngaro nāna, I waihanga te whōnei, tēnei te tuahine nohoi hunei, mea tātou teitamariki, me ngā tohu, pēnei a hori e noho mai nei, me tā tātou te maiti, te atera, e whakaatu mai nei, mea tātou wāhine, tamariki wāhine, whakaatu mai nei te atāhutanga tō tātou. Nā reira, kātia te no, ngā mihi tēnei wā, he huri notu e tehi kōrero, mihi e te kia tātou, hoi no te kōrero he kōhiri, ke hara mai, te rā whakamutu ngā pōpō ara I whakarua ki ua pohat. It is a time to be inspired, and we have been inspired tonight by this great performance. We can draw strength from the image of our mountain and the ancestors that have been revered here tonight. Although they've long gone past, and especially our own tipuna ngā api, we can always reach back, as has been crafted, the opportunity is being crafted here tonight, for us to reach back into the strength that was laid for us, and for us to be inspired this evening, tomorrow, and into the future. We are moving towards the year 2000. And that's the purpose that which we are celebrating ourselves here tonight, so that we live in moments of celebration of ourselves, drawing on the inspiration of the past and planting the inspiration to the future of our young. That's the purpose. And we have looked to the year 2000 as the change of a great event in history, the birth of a new millennium. We have the symbol, the mountain that stands here, as the symbol that will celebrate the beginning of that new period in time. We, Ngāti Pro, are surely blessed with that special moment. We have the symbol, we have the mountain, we have the reality already created to be able to express to the world that we are who we are. As our tipuna have said to us very clearly tonight, I am Ngāti Pro from the top to my toes. I am Ngāti Pro first and foremost. That's a great inspirational message to ourselves and to our youngsters. We look forward to next year's festival. This is but a mere beginning. And if I might be so persuaded to draw on comparisons through the week that's just gone by, there have been great moments through the week. Great moments through the week. But I think probably one of the most inspirational moments that's been placed before us through this week has been this great play presented here tonight. And I simply ask you... this celebratory week tomorrow with a parachute drop by Ngāti Pro SAS. I'm not sure what the significance of that is. However, there will be a parachute drop at Whakarua Park at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and we will finish the celebration with a hug. We ask you all here tonight, join us. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Thank you.
ngā mihi mihi. Oe no I tēnei wai, wale ake, kei te tautoko ngā mihi ki a koe wiri, koutou, me o rātou, ngā tātou, mani koe ata, ngā koutou, I mai te roto, te asana nei, ngā tātou. Tuarua, I'd like to acknowledge the rest of the cast, and of course, our little mokopuna. Karamai, girls. The cast has been invited by Ngāti Whakamutunga from Taranaki to take the play down then. And I put it to the Ngāti Pro people up at Ngata College that the invitation is not only to the cast, but it's also to the iwi. And so I make that same invitation here for those of you who wish to join us. We're not exactly certain of the date at this particular time, but sometime in June, depending on the availability of George Henare. I'm so busy in these parliamentary duties, you see. But we're hopeful that that date in June will coincide with the annual commemoration that Taranaki pays to Sir Peter Buck, and that is on the 27th of June. So we're very, very hopeful. So when you get word of that date, please join with us as we take this taonga into Taranaki. Kia ora rā Prince, hei tua ki ngā whakao.